Right. What are we talking about this evening? This evening, and I've got my notes here, my blog here, selling at markets and fairs. Now, I know that quite a few of you ask questions in the home baking business community about markets and fairs. So I thought I'd do another session. I think I did the last one in December, so it's quite a few months ago. So I thought I'd do another one, as lots of people are sort of taking them on and going to them. So I'll give you the benefit of my experience. When I first started my business 8 years ago, however long it was, I think it was about that. It was markets and fairs that I did for quite a few years while I was sort of getting established and, you know, learning all about having a business. And they're really good to do. They're really good. They teach you an awful lot. They get your name known. And if you do it right, you can make quite a good profit on it. I'll talk about that as we go through. So I've got some tips. I think it's 10 I have this evening. And my 10 tips are to do with, once you've found your market, the things that you need to do. But it's worth bearing in mind that you need to pick and choose your markets and your fairs that you sell at to a certain extent. Comes back to the ideal client. Who is your ideal client? Who is the perfect person that buys what you sell? Because if the market that you're going to or you're intending to trade at isn't going to have that type of customer there's no point in doing it. Yes, you might get exposure, but you've also got to try and make a profit as well. There's no point in just going just for exposure. So think about your ideal client. When I first started, one of the first markets I went to was in a town fairly local to me. And actually there were two markets. I think I've told this story, but I can't remember which live I did. But anyway, there were two markets live to me in this town. There were two markets. And before I chose which one to sell at, if I was going to sell any of them, I went to have a look. And it's really, really important to go and have a look at a market if you can. If it's a regular market, go and have a look before you commit yourself to trading there. So I went along and there was one market sort of at the top of the town and one market at the bottom of the town. And the one at the top, when I went along to that one, it was stalls that had sort of Poundland kind of thing. I mean, I love stalls like that, where you get 10 sponges for £1 and all those kind of, mops and those kind of things. And cheap handbags. And I love those types of market. But the person that goes to that type of market isn't the person that's going to pay, £3 for a brownie or 20 quid for a box of cupcakes. And I did notice there was a baker trying to sell at that market and they weren't doing brilliantly, because actually the main type of person at that market were generally sort of older people who were looking for the home bargains. And in my experience, older people aren't as keen to spend what we need to price our goods at. So I thought, I'm not sure about that one. The other market in the town was a bit more sort of artisan, craft. Anyone that sold there had to make their own of what they were selling. So, there were jams and there was woodwork things, there were candles, there were soaps, all that kind of thing. Absolutely perfect for what I wanted to sell. People that wanted to buy homemade things, perhaps as gifts, that kind of thing. So I ended up selling at that one quite a long time, actually. So make sure where you are selling is appropriate for your customer. Okay. And yeah, do go and have a recce first if you can. I know if it's a one-off, it's a bit more difficult, isn't it? But even if it's a one-off and it's at perhaps it's at an event, at a venue, or at a, I don't know, some stately homes or event places have them. Just look up the kind of person that goes to those places, even if it's not actually a market, if it's a craft fair or something. Just do a little bit of research. Don't go in completely blind. It's good to have a little bit of knowledge of who goes to those kind of things. So 10 tips for you. By the way, if you've got any questions, do ask. Or if you've got any comments, if you do already trade at markets and you've got some comments, please chip in. I'd be more than happy if you did that. Because my experience is only my experience. I'm sure there's lots of people in the group that already trade and have got lots of experience already. So first thing, number 1 of 10. Number 1 is get prepared before you start. Many markets want paperwork. They want you to have at least 5 million public liability insurance. Some of them want to see your food hygiene certificate or proof that you've registered. Some want a risk assessment. Some send you their version, but some just ask you for one. Now, if you go to my blog, which will be in the Facebook group at 8 o'clock, there's a link there to a risk assessment that you can use and adapt. Okay, and I think there's one in the files. It's the same one. It's in the files of the group. Okay. So you've got to, get your paperwork done. And I would go so far as to say that if you go to a market and they don't ask you for any of that, I would seriously wonder whether that's a market worth trading at, because they're not going to be very organized and they're not going to be they're not going to be looking after their traders, put it that way. So just be careful if you want to trade at a market and they just say, yeah, come along, whatever, and they don't want to see any, because it gives you an indication as to the due diligence that they do and the quality of traders that they might have there. Okay. Number 2, find out what is provided. Now, this is from experience. Usually, if they're a fairly organized market, you'll get some sort of contract or some kind of, terms and conditions or whatever. And it'll tell you on there what the market provides and what what they don't provide. So in other words, what you have to provide. So for some markets, you just literally get a space and that's it. You have to bring everything else. With some markets, and these are the ones I like best, were the ones that actually give you either a gazebo or a market stall with a cover. Those are the better ones, because obviously then you didn't have to sort of lug your gazebo around. Do they provide tables? Do they provide chairs? Do they provide tablecloths? Do they provide all those kind of things? So don't assume anything. Just double check everything that you're going to need. Okay. Some markets I traded at, you had to take a gazebo with you, and they insisted, quite rightly, that you had weights on them. You weren't allowed to put them up unless you had weights on them. So double check what it is that you need and what's provided. Okay. If they provide a table, find out how big it is, because you don't want to arrange, organize an enormous display and then find out you've only got a 3-foot table, and the other way round. You don't want to find, plan for only having a small space and find you've got an enormous table to fill. Not that you necessarily need more products, but if you had a big table, you could take bits and pieces to put on your table to make your display look nice. So find out, if you're provided with a table, how big it is. And your tablecloth or covering. I've still got it somewhere in the loft. I bought a length of that Wipe Clean tablecloth, which was really useful, and it was wide enough to obviously have it down the front of the table, which meant I could put all my boxes and things under the table as a storage. If you don't have anything down the front, then it does look messy if people can see boxes and things. So, have something that goes right down to the ground at the front of your stall, then you can have a mess under your table and keep all your boxes and all your bits and pieces under the table. Okay. Will you need electricity for anything? There are some things that you might sell that you might need a mini fridge for or whatever. Find out whether that's provided. Some markets you have to pay extra for electricity, those kind of things. So double check what's provided and what you need to take. Okay. Number 3, get other essentials sorted. We had a comment about this in the group within the last couple of weeks, I remember. EHOs will expect you to have some hand washing facility of some sort. So unless you're sort of in a hall that's got toilets and hand washing facilities, you're going to need to take your own. My EHO recommended a flask of warm water and a bowl. She said that's all you need. If you're not sure, contact your EHO and say, is a flask of hot water and a bowl enough? What would you recommend for me if you're not sure? And they will advise you. But generally, that's the kind of thing that you need. Okay, I know some people in the group do that as well. Just a thermos flask of water. You can get those little portable water things, hand washing things. If you're going to do lots of markets, it might be worth getting one of those. I don't know if anyone in the group's got one that can, show us where to get them from. I never got one of those. Even if you're using gloves and tongs and you're not going to handle, you still need to have that. Your EHO will expect that. Okay. Hi, Dawn. Hello, lovely. And as well as hand washing, think about your rubbish, your waste. I used to have little metal hooks that I used to hook a carrier bag onto, that I had put all my rubbish in. Not that I had a lot of rubbish, but it's just useful to have it. And you can some markets insist that you take it home with you, and some, if you're in an area that's got sort of bins for the traders, then you can throw it away. But just think about what you're going to do with any rubbish or any waste. Okay. What are we up to? Number 4. Your display. Think about your display. I know that a couple of people in the group have said, can people put pictures of their market stall so I can get an idea of how to do mine? As I've said in my blog, this was a really steep learning curve for me, this one. I learned a lot from all the other traders at the various markets that I went to. And the general consensus is try and have some height on your stall. Don't have everything just flat. Because if you think about it, if you're standing quite away from a stall and everything is flat, you're not going to really see what's on that stall. If you've got some things lifted up on boxes, I mean, if you've got display cabinets, even better, but, things lifted up, then people at a distance will be able to see, perhaps your signage, brownies in big letters or whatever it is, have that so that it can be seen from a fair distance. Okay. I ended up buying, and they're blooming heavy things, some big cabinets, 2-tiered, that had the little flaps at the back, which were brilliant for, food hygiene. But when the weather was hot, they were like ovens and everything melted. So I had to go to plan B, which was like put some up and say, ask me for one of these, because I kept them under the table, sometimes with ice packs under them. But yes, think about height. Think about other things that you might want to have in your stall. I'm obviously labeling, talk about that in a minute. I sometimes used to take little, there's a picture on my blog of my little donkey, my little beanie donkey. And at Easter, I used to take little bunnies and, or you might want to put fresh flowers on there. You might want to, when you go to have a look at the markets, when you do the recce for them, have a look and see what other market traders are doing. Because the more experienced ones will have it sussed. And you'll see the height, you'll see the labeling, you'll see, okay. I used to put books out of my birthday cakes and wedding cakes. Sometimes I used to, I took photos and put them on a string and put those on the front of the stall. So all those kind of things. Lots of pictures of my logo everywhere and my business name. So even if people aren't buying, they're still subconsciously taking in your business name, which is quite a good thing for them to do, because, you know, it's all to do with being visible and being recognized. Okie dokie. So that's number 4. Number 5, make your pricing clear. Now, first of all, if you go to my pricing live that I did a couple of weeks ago, I did some sums, and I showed you why it's really important to know how much profit you're making on each thing you sell. So you've really got to know that. There's no point in making something and say, oh, we'll say £3 then, shall we? Or asking other people, oh, they sell at £2.50, so I better do that. If you don't know how much profit you're making on everything you sell, you're not going to know what's worth doing more of or what's worth not, you know, not selling anymore. You've really got to know. Okay. So have a look at that live. It's from a couple of weeks ago. So make sure you know what profit you're making on each one. And then think about how you're going to communicate. Are you going to have one list with your products and have a couple of those around the stall? Or is each item going to have the price on? Or you could do both. As long as it's really, really clear. Okay. Because I don't know about you, if I'm somewhere at a shop or, you know, at a fair or whatever, I don't want to have to go all the way up and look, you know, at the tiny teeny writing how much something is. I want to be able to see at a moderate distance what the pricing is, and I certainly don't want to have to ask. I want to be able to see that. Okay. Will you do a discount for a multi-buy? So a thing's going to be £2 each, or 4 for £7, for example, something like that. If you do that, make sure you've priced it and profited it. Make sure you know, again, what profit you're making if you do that. And will you do an end of the day discount to get rid of things? If you don't want to take things home, I used to, what did I used to do? I did a few different things on different markets. Sometimes I'd be like, buy one, get another one free, because it's worth, even though I didn't get much profit on those, it was better than taking them home. So at least I got some money back. Or just, you know, everything for £1 for the last half an hour or whatever. But obviously it's up to you whether you do that. But it is a way of just recouping some money if you've got things left over. Number 6, we're up to, how will customers pay? When I was doing markets, it was generally all cash. But now it really is more, loads more places are doing, you know, cashless, contactless. And the systems by which you can do that are much better now than when I was trading. I have got a Square reader. I also had an iZettle at one point, but Square's quite good, and there's SumUp. There's quite a few different systems that you can use, but I really, really recommend, if you're going to do a few markets, to have that, because so many people just don't. I don't take cash anywhere now. I really don't. I had to, I was going to town for my daughter's birthday a couple of weeks ago and came unstuck because the car parks in Eastbourne only take cash. They don't do cards or anything. So it's like, oh, okay. We can't park here then because we haven't got any cash. That's by the by, I waffle. So think about how you're going to do that. If you are doing cash, or, you know, cash as well, think about your float and think about your float in terms of what coins you're going to need. So I think at one point, I don't know why I did this, but at one point I priced some things at £1.70, which is a really weird price. But anyway, So I had to make sure I had 20p's and 10p's so that I could give change from £2. SumUp's good, yeah. I know lots of people do use SumUp, and I think SumUp's got a referral code or something, hasn't it? But anyway, so think about the change that you need for the prices that you are setting. Okay, much easier is just to have round pounds, to be honest. But obviously it depends on your your profit margins and all that kind of stuff. So do think about that. Have somewhere safe to put your money. Again, if you've got the table with the front covered, you can have your money underneath where no one can see it. That's quite a good way of doing it. I had a little green cash box. At one point I had one of those belts, that market traders have, that you can put your money into, but I couldn't get on with that at all. So I ended up with my little green cash tin. I bought a green one because that's my business's sort of colour, and that worked quite well. So yes, so do some research on the online things. If you do use Square or SumUp or one of those, they do take a little tiny percentage, but I know for Square it's really not much at all. And you can get your money once they've paid. You can get your money moderately quickly. So investigate those. Number 7. Oh, it's the bane of our lives, isn't it? Number 7 is get your labeling right. I won't go too much into detail with that now because I've done loads of lives on labeling, and there's blogs on labeling, and there's a link in this blog for the labeling blog. But basically, if you're pre-packing your goods, then that's pre-packed for direct sale, and that's full ingredients as well as the allergens. But if they're loose and you put them into the bag, then that's non-pre-packed, and that's slightly differently. So make sure you are doing your labeling correctly. Make sure it's nice and clear, because at the end of the day, you don't want anyone to come a cropper with with anything that you sell, because that's that's our job, isn't it, really? So that's number 7. Number 8. Oh, I've mentioned this as well. Have marketing information at hand. If people want to know more about you, have you got a website or a Facebook page? Have you got business cards? Have you got flyers? Because they might not want to buy something there and then, but if you've got pictures, I don't know, of your birthday cakes or whatever, it might be that, oh, we need a birthday cake in a couple of weeks. This looks good. So have something ready to give people if they ask, or if they're, someone comes up to your stall and starts looking at the pictures of your birthday cakes. Oh, do you want a leaflet, or do you want a card? This is where you can contact me. Have information about everything that you offer, or that you produce, you do. You could perhaps have I do Halloween boxes, or I do Christmas Eve boxes, or start to put into people's minds, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Hadn't thought of that. Particularly as we're coming into autumn, you're going to start thinking about Halloween. If you do Christmas Eve boxes, that's a great way of making people realize that that's what they want, even though they didn't know that they wanted it. Oh, Christmas Eve box, that's a good idea. So, have information on your stall as to what you do when you're not selling at the market. Okay. And then you can make some connections, and people will engage with you that way. Okay. Number 9. Oh yes, this this is a practical one. Number 9. Find out, this is a wise up to the practicalities. Find out where the facilities are, and by facilities I generally mean toilets, because if you're going to be at a market all day, and again, this is what you can do when you do the recce of the market. If you're going to be at a market on your own all day, at some point you're going to need to go to the loo. You need to know where it is, and you need to know what you can do when you go to the loo. And is there anywhere that you can get refreshments and things? If your market is in a church hall or a village hall or whatever, there'll be loos there. There'll be someone selling cups of tea from the hatch. You know, they always have a hatch, these places. And you'll be moderately sorted. But if it's like in a town centre, then you need to think about how you're going to go to the loo. In my experience, when you set up your day's trading and get to know the traders around you, generally traders will watch stalls as other traders go to the loo. We used to do that all the time. All the markets that I would go out, you know, you get chatting to the person next to you and the people behind you or whatever. And you can just say, oh, if you need the loo, I'll look after your stall for you, and they'll do that for you. It's quite a nice community at a lot of markets that I traded at. It was really nice. And sometimes we'd have a real laugh as well. So think about that. Think about the practicalities, where the loos are, how you're going to get to go to the loo. I always used to take flasks of tea, 2 flasks. But think about that. Think about, you know, where you're going to get drinks, where you're going to get food, that kind of thing. Okay. And we're at number 10. So number 10 is to evaluate afterwards. Not necessarily immediately afterwards, but in the days following your market, have a good look at the figures, have a good look at the numbers that you sold. If it was successful, try and work out why. Why do you think it was successful? Because if you find out why, then you'll be able to repeat that success. Was it that you had lots of customers who were your ideal client? Was it the type of market, you know, you found the perfect one for your ideal customer? Was it that you had good trading, perhaps at lunchtime? I used to trade in the middle of a town, and sometimes I'd do Thursdays at this town, and between sort of 11:30 and sort of 2, people would come out of offices and come and buy their lunch or have a wander around and buy snacks and things. So evaluate how it went. Look at which products have made you the profit, not necessarily the products that you sold the most of. If you go to my pricing live, you'll see what I mean by that. Because if the product that you sell the most of hasn't got a very big profit, you might actually be making more money on something you didn't sell as much, but you had a bigger profit margin. So you can evaluate what it's worth doing next time if you go again. Yeah, if you didn't sell much of one thing, then you can think, oh, it's not really worth doing that again. I'll try something else. Or if you did have something that sold out, everyone said they loved it, they want more, yes, that's going to be one for the next time, isn't it? So do that and use that for your next market, whether it's at the same place or whether it's at a different place. If you hardly sold anything, and that might happen. I had quite a few days where it was like, oh my God, you know, there's no footfall, took loads of stuff home, but don't think it's you necessarily. The chances are it isn't. The chances are there's all sorts of variables that have gone on, but you can still say, okay, I didn't sell much. What can I do next time? Is it the right market for me? Did I have the right products for the people that were there? Did I have them at the right size and the right price? Because as you know, you can make something big and have it for, I don't know, $5, or you can have it smaller and have it for less. So think about, you know, your sizes of your products as well. So yeah, so do evaluate and learn from it and take that to your next market that you do. So there we are. That's my 10 points. And the blog link should be, excuse me. Oh, I've not been drinking Coke today. I've been drinking tea. Still. So the blog link should be in the Home Baking Business Community UK by now. So have a look at there if you prefer reading to listening. But I'll also put this up. This live will also go in the guides, and it will also go on my YouTube channel for you to peruse at your leisure. So there we go. If you do take on a market or a fair or whatever it is you do, then do tell us how it goes. Do share in the group, what you've learned from it, what you would do next time, what you wouldn't do next time. Because it's really good to share, things that went well and things that you think, oh, I'll never do that again. We can all learn from that, can't we? So there we go. So that is markets and fairs. I hope that's been useful. Next week, now I changed my program a couple of weeks ago. Next week, I'm now going to be doing a follow on from the pricing session that I did. I'm going to talk about, good Dawn. I'm going to be talking about overheads, how to calculate, or how I calculate my overheads when I'm pricing products, so that I make sure that I've covered everything. So next week I will be going through that. So there might well be a whiteboard and a pen. There'll be some maths going on. But that will be next week. And then the week after, usually the last Wednesday of the month, I do a demo. And I thought I'd do some autumn leaves because we might find that useful coming up to autumn. I'll show you how to make some autumn leaves out of sugar paste and florist paste and things. There we go. So I hope that's been useful. Have a lovely week. Let's hope that the temperature does go down a little bit and we can buttercream without it turning into soup. I've got a cake to take tomorrow. I've been battling with buttercream all day, and my kitchen's been really hot today, even though it's been raining and the temperature's come down a bit. But when you're piping lots of things and it goes soupy in the bag, and you think, no, I've got to put it down. I can't be doing this anymore. It's ridiculous. Anyway, so I'm delivering that tomorrow. But otherwise, have a lovely week. And I will see you next Wednesday at 7:30 for some more pricing. Okay. All right, then, everybody. Have a lovely week, and I will see you next week. Bye.